tickets. Okay?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So this morning I'll be taking us on this brief lesson on workplace. You can just stand over here. I'll be taking us on this brief lesson on workplace productivity, and the focus is on how to use Trello to improve workplace productivity. Now, I don't know how many of us can relate to being in a meeting and being asked, maybe heads of units, being asked, perhaps, how many people have you sensitized on drug abuse or on gender-based violence or on child protection, and you know the figure, but you don't have it at that particular moment you have been required to present it, and then you have to ask for some time to get back to your office and consult with your staff to bring the figure. But there are certain meetings you will be in, and it will not be possible to give, maybe they will not give you that luxury of time. So with this application, we can, all of us, we can have that at the palm of our hands just by using our smartphone. Next slide, please. So the learning objectives for this particular presentation is that at the end of the presentation, we will understand the features, the advantages, and the benefits of the application Trello, which can be used both on your Android phones, on your Apple devices, and even on the website for project management, collaborative teamwork, and record keeping. Anybody learn how to utilize this on the website and on the phone application, both in personal and professional project management, collaborative teamwork, and record keeping. So we'll understand it, but the most important thing is that we will learn how to utilize it. So this is going to be a very hands-on training. Next slide, please. So, what is Trello, what are its features, and what are the benefits? Next slide. So Trello is a popular, simple, and easy to use collaborative tool that enables us to organize projects and everything related to those projects into what they call boards. And then with the Trello application, we can find different kind of information, such as what is being worked on, who is working on it, what progress has the project taken. Now, what makes this application special? And first of all, I don't think we are new to each other here. We know the challenges we have as a ministry. We know certain things with our data, they are not properly put together. We know that sometimes we need information about what have we achieved over the last 7 years, and you ask planning says they don't have the records, and we begin to scout for records. I think that record keeping for a ministry is like keeping the family tree of a family, the generations. When you come, when you're giving birth to, they tell you this is your mother, that's your father. You know them because they are your parents. But when it goes beyond them to your grandparents, your father has to link you to his father and his mother. The same thing with your mother, your maternal grandparents. So this growth, this family tree is not the responsibility of a child to develop. It's the responsibility of the people before, the generations before, to develop. I'm sure you will agree with me. So if you, in a family, is asked about the family tree, you just go, if it has already been put there, and you look at the tree and you see this is my first cousin, this is my second cousin, this is how these people are related to me. But if that is not already set up, you have to start from somewhere. Say for example, in your own time, in your own generation, you decide, okay, from me, I want to start keeping the record of how this family is expanding, and you begin to form the tree from there. So we cannot say that because there's no existing record that we should just leave things the way they are. We have to look for a way that from this point forward, we can keep that record so that when people come after us, they can find something that they can leverage on. Next slide, please. So Trello employs boards, cards, and lists for project management. Boards are like general. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, it can be integrated with Google Drive, with Twitter, with Telegram, and many other different applications that enables you to be able to work seamlessly with your team. Next slide, please. Trello has many users. Google uses Trello. I'm talking about the Google company, Adobe company, Coinbase, National Geographic. So it is very popular among private and public companies. Please, next slide. Now, Trello allows you to sign up with a free account. That's why I'm actually introducing this here, because there are tools like this that you will have to pay for to be able to use them. But the advantage of this is that it allows us to use a free account, and with that free account you can access almost all the features. And with a free account we have unlimited storage. It means that if your department has data that runs into several gigabytes or terabytes, you can actually store it here without having to pay for it. And it also has a mobile application that works with Android and works with iOS. So whether you use an Android phone or use an iOS phone, you can actually use the mobile-friendly application. Or if you don't even have a phone, you can use the website for your record keeping and project management. Next slide, please. Next slide. Now the first step is to sign up, and I have just dropped a link on our ministry WhatsApp group that links to the application on Play Store. I would like those of us who are connected to please download the application, because going from this point forward is going to be hands-on training. We'll be showing you what to do and how to do it. So please, can we just visit the ministry platform? You see a link I dropped there.
Oh, no, let one person. Let one person.
Okay, let's have one person who is a volunteer here who will help us do that.
We will now you can project how the person is handling it. Because we want everybody.
Oh, they're all here.
This is about 30 minutes.
Alright, so please can we just have one person who downloads the application? Alright, thank you. Next slide, please. Now, when you download the application and create a free account, the next step is to create a board. And the steps to do that is, you on the application, you will see something like this. It's a plus icon, and when you click on it, to open another interface like this where you have boards, you have cards, and you have templates that they have already created, which you can just use for your board creation. So when you select board, it will give you another slide like this that shows you how to create the board, or the interface to create the board. There you can name the board. Now, this is where our ingenuity will come into place. You can name the board anything of your choice. So for this example, I named it my Department of Rehabilitation Service. And it's created under a workspace, because when you sign in, it's like you create a workspace. So that workspace is called it's named after you. So John Bossey is the name I signed in with. So you named it John Bossey's workspace, and it creates your board under your workspace. Next slide, please. Now, when you have created a board, the board is like a general platform that houses all your activities on that project. So the board can be your department, or it can be Ministry of Social Development, depending on what you want to achieve. So if you create a board, the next step is to create lists inside the board. You can have any number of lists of your choice. Now, this list, as a head of the department, you are the one who will develop your list the way you want it. You can decide that you want your list to be the thematic units of your department. Say, for example, you want your list to be, maybe you are the head of unit for child, and you want to have lists like adoption, let's say crèche, and then you want to name them according to the units in your department. You can do that. You can equally say you want to name them according to the activities of your department. You want to name the list, say, for example, sensitization, monitoring and evaluation, reading and rehabilitation. You want to name the list according to your activities, or you want to name it according to your functional units. It depends on you. But you are the one that will decide which will be better for you to capture your department's activities. So whatever you decide is how you will create your list. There's no template here. They just have boards, lists, and cards. So you are the one that will decide what will my board be, what will my list be, and what will my card be. So whatever you decide is how you will then develop your list. Now you can add as many lists as you wish. I think you skipped the slide on this. Just go back one slide. So when you create your list, thank you. All right, I think you can invite your team members, and this is why this allows for collaborative teamwork. Now, the email address of everybody in your unit, you can just add them. And the simple steps to doing that is that when you have opened a board, at the top of the board you will see 3 dots. So that 3 dots is the menu. When you open the menu, this is the board menu that will display to you. You have the option to pin it to your home screen, and it's going to just be on your phone's home screen. And then you can always access it whenever you want. And you can invite the members of your team to that board. By simply typing in their email address, they will receive a notification to join the application and join you on your project. So every member of your team, if you have their email, you just add them by simply tapping on invite. And you see at this point where you have to invite them, you can put their name. If they're already on Trello, to just bring them up. You can use their email or their Trello username. And in this example, I added my director and Ms. Sonia to this board because we were testing it within the department to see if it is something that we can use to capture our department's activities so that we can have proper records. Next slide, please. So like I was talking about creating lists, this is the slide for creating lists. You can create any list that speaks to whether it is your activity or your thematic area. So it is boards first, and after boards you have lists. So whatever you want to name your list, for example, in this example, I created a board named Skyward Community and I added a list called Training. So to add list, when you create your board, you just see the option to add list when you open the board. You name the list, whatever you want to name it, and then you have the option to add cards under your list. So that is how you create a list. Next slide, please. After creating a list, the next, and I think perhaps the most important aspect of this Trello application is that you can add cards. And then these cards, you name them, for example, let's use Department of Rehabilitation Service, for instance. And let's say in this quarter we have been given the task of raiding 15 people off the street. Now we have created a board, maybe Department of Rehabilitation Service. We have created a list under it, raiding and rehabilitation. And then we now created under that list a particular card, 15 to raid and repatriate 15, to raid and rehabilitate 15 mentally ill persons in second quarter 2023. That is a card under that list. There can also be monitoring and evaluation, second quarter, as a card. So all the activities under raiding and rehabilitation, you can just create them as card. And what we can do is we can use our work plan, just pull out the activities we've already said we want to do in our work plan. I think many of you remember then when we used to write our activities and paste it on our window, so that immediately you get into the office, you see this is everything that I want to do in this quarter or in this year. And you can already tell, okay, this is what I have done, this is what I am yet to do. So it gives you direction. You know, should I be raising a proposal for another monitoring? You know, okay, I've already done monitoring, I've achieved my target for this year, let me focus on another activity. So with this, you can immediately see that. See, another way you can even do your list is you can create to do. You can then create another list ongoing, create another list done, and you create another list, maybe matters arising. So like an application comes in, you can put it under matters arising. So depending on you as the director or head of unit, to decide how you want to capture those data. So these cards, when you create them, you can then add members to particular cards. So for example, I have desk officers in my department who are responsible for mental illness and drug abuse. I add them to the card for that particular activity so that they are the only ones who can see the activity in that card. And they are the ones who are responsible for acting on those activities. Next slide, please. So in this particular instance, after you have added your members to a card, you can then assign those cards and specify the due date that you need those tasks to be carried out. So in this example, the members who are already on your board that you added during that slide for adding your team members, you will see all of them. Then you will now select the ones that you want to add to a particular card. So a card, for example, like I used the example of raiding and rehabilitation, may not speak to everybody in that department because we have people in the department whose task or whose desk is for persons with disability. They don't need to be on the card for maybe repatriation and raiding of mentally ill persons. So the people in your department whose assignment relates to that card, you can just select them, add them to the card, and when you add them to the card, the next step is to assign a due date for which they are to perform that activity. Next slide, please. To assign a due date, after adding your members to the card, you see at the bottom here you have the option to set a date. So you can set the date that the activity is supposed to start and the date that they should submit or complete that assignment. So for example, if you have a time-sensitive task, for example, now we have a task in my department, or in child department, let's say you have to do the Children's Day activity, and you have assigned certain people on that assignment. You will specify that the due date is 27th of May, because that's the date for the activity, so that any officer who maybe forgets will be notified by the application prior to the date, because when you set a due date, you can set a reminder, and in the reminder section, you can say you want to be reminded at the time of the due date, or 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, 2 hours before, 2 days before. So before the activity, you will receive a notification, you have such an activity coming up, and if you need maybe 2 days, you say, okay, you need to be reminded maybe 10 minutes before, maybe you just want to raise a memo, and it's not something that requires too much time. You say, okay, I want just 2 hours reminder. Or it is something that maybe you want to go and book a hall, contact printers, you need like a 2 days reminder. You can set as much time as you need to be reminded in case you forget to perform that activity. Next slide, please. Now, I think this last part has to do with adding labels. And the labels are assigning priority to activities. So if you create an activity under a card, you can say, is it a strategic or an urgent or a time sensitive or a critical or an important activity? So you name your labels, whatever you want to name them. I created these categories, it is not fixed. So you can name your labels however you want. And then you put a label, attach it to a card. So for example, in this, I added the label urgent to a card that I had created for monitoring and profiling. So whoever is working on that, in this case I have 2 members assigned on that particular activity, they will see that this task is urgent and they will act accordingly. Now what is most important is that there is this section here that allows you to add comments. So every member working on an activity can comment what they have done. Say for instance, I'm working on monitoring and profiling and I traveled to our healing home in Edo North to conduct a monitoring and profiling. On the spot as I'm doing the activity, you know, certain times you take a note file and you are jotting. You can here just be writing comments. You can be writing comments, attaching anything here with this attachment icon. It can be a picture. Maybe I talk to somebody, I snap the person as pictorial evidence, I put a comment there, later I come and develop a report on it. So you can be adding comments, and when you add comments, it will put the date and time you added that comment. So that maybe I performed an activity, I don't even remember when did I do this activity. As far back as long as it's in this application, you can come and you will see the date you put the comment. It will now remind you, okay, we did this on 1st of May 2021. So as long as you are updating your activities, and the beautiful thing is that many members working on this can be doing the same thing at the same time. So that helps to keep proper records. Next slide, please. Now this is the formal thing we did concerning our department's standard of operation. And you see that we wrote all the activities that we do in our department. So this can be a template for you to use, that you use all your activities, or you can use your functional areas as your list, or you can use to do, ongoing, done, and so on, depending on what works for you in your department. Next slide, please. Now this is a statistic that is shocking. It says that in 2018, in the public sector, we lost 3 trillion naira, which is approximately $8.67 billion, as a direct result of low productivity. And our low productivity levels can be improved with training, motivation, supervision of civil servants to enhance their productivity. Well, this is what I think. I think that this is leakages. We don't necessarily have to increase productivity to make more revenue. We can just plug leakages and we'll be saving up to $8.67 billion. So one of the ways we can do that is in proper supervision and management, and that is one of the things that this application will help heads of units to achieve. Because you can see what your team members are doing by just logging in. You've seen what they've done, and you can immediately see who maybe has a due date that they have missed, and you can reach out to them and say, look, you have an activity that is pending, what is going on? So it gives proper supervision. And if you are ever in a meeting and they ask you, what is the number of sensitization you've done this quarter? You open the application, you go to sensitization, you see what your teammate has put there, even the one he's probably doing at that very moment. Maybe he's doing a sensitization right there on the spot and he just updated that so number of people registered for this particular sensitization, 110. You add it to your data and you give a very on-the-spot accurate report of your department's activity. It will show that you are on top of your department. And nobody has these figures in their head because the figures are always changing. What you did last week is not the same this week, it has added. So you cannot remember everything, no matter how good you are, you will forget. That is why we need these kinds of things to help us. And if we always have to say, okay, at the end of the quarter, we now submit report to planning, and then we wait another quarter, we submit another report, we now go and compare and contrast to add up to know exactly where we are. That will require a whole lot of waiting. We need something that is more agile, something that is fast-paced, that you can use on the spot and everybody can use it together, and that is exactly what we have here. Next slide, please. Now, this is the most important and critical element because it determines whether this will fail or it will succeed. And that is stakeholder buy-in. Now, we are the stakeholders here in the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Issues. And like there was a story that was told that they went to a community and they gave them water supply, they dug boreholes, and they created water for the community. Before now, they used to go very far to fetch water. The children would carry their cans on their head and go to fetch water. And people saw this was a bad situation. They needed to do something. So they created boreholes near the village that people can easily fetch water and go home. Guess what happened? The village adults, men and women, went to destroy it. And when the people that did the project came and asked, why did you destroy this thing? This thing is actually helping your life. They said, no, that this is the only opportunity they have to be together when their children have gone to fetch water. Now, if you bring this thing too close to this, these children will not go anywhere again. We will always be with them, and we don't need that. So you need to know if the stakeholders will actually want something like this, which is why I'm going to ask. Now that you have seen the features and the benefits of this application, do we think this is something that will help our job day to day? If you feel that it will help your job, you can just indicate by putting up your hand.
It will help.
I feel it will help. So that is what's most important, stakeholder buy-in. Because if you have decided that you will use the application, it is not difficult to learn. It is as easy as WhatsApp. But unlike WhatsApp, where if you put an information, other information will come and flush it away, and then you'll be looking for, I will post am here, where you enter. This one, you have your, in fact, it's very good that when you do maybe after a year, you can archive that entire year. It will be on your archive and you create a new one, speaking to the new year, so that they say, where's the record from 2015 till now? You will just go to your archive and pull out everything. And you will give a very detailed report. So if someone else comes to the department, for example, someone is moved, transferred, and or removed from that department, you will just remove them from the board and add a new member to the board. That person stops seeing what is happening there, and the new person will see everything that has happened there. So it makes a lot of sense because it allows for transition. If, for example, we get a new head of ministry, that head of ministry can be added and sees everything that has happened before she came, or he, or as the case may be. So it actually helps for organizational memory preservation, which is one of the challenges that we are having because we have directors who are retired. You cannot go and ask them, and when you were director, what did you do? They are no longer in the service.
Which way?
Next slide, please. So productivity, as Paul J. May has said, is never an accident. It is always the result of commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort. Which is why, as we have bought in by indicating that this will help our work, it is left for us, a responsibility for us, just like you turn off the AC when you are done from the office and you shut the door and lock it. It is a responsibility for you that once you are doing an activity, you are updating it. It's a responsibility for directors that once you are planning your department, you structure the list that speaks to all your activities so that you can add the staff that is responsible and hold them accountable for the activities that they should be performing in your unit. And it makes your job easier, way easier, because One of the things that stresses us a lot in this ministry is when they say, let us compile quarterly reports, or let us compile yearly reports. And you see everybody, you don't come again. No. But when you have it, it will not stress us at all. It will be very easy. It will be just one of those things that is a breeze to accomplish. Next slide, please. So this is a slide for questions and answers. I don't know if we have enough time for that. But I believe that if we have questions, perhaps when we are using the application that the questions will come up. But I assure you it's a very easy application to use. They made it so simple. And even as simple as it is still free, and it gives us a whole lot of leverage. In terms of other applications that do this, they are very expensive. But with this application, we have something that it is not only free, it gives us almost all the features, and we have as much storage. It's very important because one of the things that some people try to use is Dropbox, Google Drive. For those things, they have limited storage, and if you want more storage, you have to buy it. But with this, we have unlimited storage, and you can do as much as you want with these applications. All right. But this is just a slide that speaks to me. It's a thank you slide. Thank you.
Questions.